We're going to begin the hour in Ottawa, where the Minister of Sport is ready to give Hockey Canada another shot. It's been 10 months now since Pascal Saint-Onge froze the national body's annual grant of nearly $8 million. Late yesterday, she said she's restoring the funding, saying the organization has met her conditions. The money was withheld after revelations Hockey Canada used registration fees to settle cases of alleged sexual assault. Since then, its entire board of directors has been replaced. Janice McGregor begins our coverage this hour. She's in Ottawa with more on the importance of federal dollars for Hockey Canada. Janice, how significant is that for the agency?
Well, really, the decision to suspend, to freeze Hockey Canada's funding, very much a symbolic one on the part of the sport minister, not necessarily something that really had a devastating impact on the material resources of this organization. Federal funding is about 7% of Hockey Canada's revenue. It had $98 million in the bank last year. So getting it back, yes, is helpful. It says it intends to use it to help its high-performance athletes, the Paralympic team, the women's team who were in the spotlight yesterday, as well as sort of the international programs for men. But really, this also intended to help the organization turn a page. Pascal Saint-Onge, talking to reporters yesterday, was wanting to reassure everyone that this doesn't mean Sport Canada won't still be keeping a close eye.
When we suspended the funding for Hockey Canada, it was never a matter of doing it forever. It was so that the proper change was implemented in the organization. I've set 3 conditions for them. They've met those 3 conditions. And now we're reinstating the funding, but it's not a blank check.
Now, just to remind everyone what those 3 conditions were. Hockey Canada had to submit to an audit to show how public money was used, had to commit to ongoing financial monitoring by Sport Canada. It had to sign on to the Office of the Sport Integrity Commissioner. The idea there is that in the future, if there are more misconduct complaints, they will be handled with a different process than they were previously. And it's also agreed to implement a range of recommendations that have come from the review that was held, things that would improve its governance and hockey culture generally. But I want to tell you about a meeting happening today on Parliament Hill of the Parliamentary Heritage Committee. That committee last month asked Hockey Canada to produce the report that came from its internal investigation into the alleged group sexual assault that happened in a London, Ontario hotel room involving members of the 2018 World Junior team. Hockey Canada did not comply in a timely fashion with that request. That committee also has asked for the contract between Hockey Canada and the Canadian Hockey League, wanting to understand better what the rights of the players are when they're involved in international teams, asking for more transparency there. So this committee, its probe continues. It is not yet satisfied that it has seen the kind of change that's necessary. Bruce Kidd is a professor emeritus, looks at sports policy, sports politics with the University of Toronto, and he too isn't sure that all the necessary changes have unfolded here.
Sports Canada has been very good at establishing standards for funded sports bodies, but terrible at reviewing them for compliance, let alone enforcing compliance. And so everybody's eye is going to be on this relationship going ahead.
Now, as you said, Heather, there is new leadership at Hockey Canada. It has an entirely new board that was named last winter. The new chair of that board, Hugh Fraser, said in a statement yesterday that getting its funding back is an important milestone in its journey to earn and maintain the trust of Canadians. But he also added that Hockey Canada still has work to do, and that's what some of its critics believe too.
So a milestone for the organization, but Janice, what about the players alleged to have taken part in the sexual assaults that touched off this controversy? What's the latest word on them?
Well, earlier this year, Hockey Canada announced that any of the players involved in that alleged assault back in 2018, those World Junior players, would be ineligible to represent Canada on future kind of international world teams. But that is really the closest thing we've seen so far in this entire affair to any kind of real accountability on the part of the players that were at the heart of this. They have never been publicly named. A bunch of them continue to play pro hockey. And police investigations into both the 2018 incident and the alleged assault by other players from the 2003 World Junior team, that they were involved in a group sexual assault in Halifax. Those police investigations are still underway. There have been no charges laid, at least not yet.
Thank you, Janice. Janice McGregor in Ottawa.